So today we're going to talk about a very, very, very controversial man, Sheriff Harry Lee. With no further ado, let's get into it.
Harry Lee was Jefferson Parish's larger-than-life sheriff for 28 years. When he died in 2007 after battling leukemia, quite a legacy and plenty of memories were left behind. They are now being put together in a documentary. WDSU News anchor Scott Walker is on your side tonight with a preview of the Harry Lee story.
Tuesday, I could.
62 people who knew the sheriff.
I have a bobblehead of Sheriff Harry Lee.
I'm just wild about Harry. I'm just wild about Harry.
The story of Harry Lee has been told several times over the years, but never like this. Longtime Lee supporter and local businessman John Georges came up with the idea.
I thought that we needed to do this to document a very important person and also to share Harry Lee with future generations.
The beginning of the film chronicles what is arguably Lee's finest hour, his actions post-Katrina. When then Police Superintendent Eddie Compass asked for help, he sent 200 semi-automatic pistols and 10,000 rounds of ammunition to the NOPD.
Because they were devastated. They had no equipment, they had no weapons.
The sheriff then got on the radio and asked people around Louisiana to bring in boats to help rescue people.
He immediately told us, if you see FEMA people attempting to block them, arrest them on the spot, haul them away.
Lee was passionate and tough, but he knew how to have a good time. His Fête au Dos was one of the nation's largest annual fundraisers.
The beer and liquor flows all night. And let me tell you something, the most beautiful women in the world come to that party.
The SWAT team attack on Jefferson Parish's nutria population made headlines.
Killed something like 14,000 nutria.
And his famous straight shooting speaking style often got him in trouble.
For a long time, I didn't know what politically incorrect meant.
But in the end, people were wild about Harry.
People would always come up to him and say, I didn't vote for you, but I like you, Sheriff. I like you. I like you. So, you know, there's not a lot of people who you can say that about.
And the film's release coincides with the second anniversary of Lee's death. The proceeds from it will benefit the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
Wild About Harry premieres Wednesday night at 6 at Loyola University. Tickets to the viewing are $25. To find out more, log on to our website, WDSU.
And even though he was larger than life on New Orleans' West Bank, this didn't come without controversy.
Sheriff Harry Lee is livid about a New Orleans minister's criticism of his deputies. The minister says they used excessive force when the deputies opened fire on a suspected car thief Monday morning. Lee says the minister needs to mind his own business. Laura Shelton reports.
Sheriff Harry Lee gave us new details on the investigation into the shooting, and he gave us an earful about New Orleans Minister Tom Watson.
All we tried to do was stop him. And if it took 100 and whatever bullets were fired to stop him, that's what it took. And if they had to reload, that's what they come here to train to do.
Sheriff Harry Lee passionately defended his deputies' use of deadly force in the death of 16-year-old Antoine Colbert, the teen behind the wheel of this stolen truck. Deputies say Colbert tried to run them over.
And everybody's saying, we the bad guys? And he hit a deputy with the car. And are you any less dead if you get hit with a Ram Dodge truck or with a 9mm bullet? You just as dead.
There were two other teens in the truck, and according to Sheriff Lee, both say the barrage of bullets stopped as soon as the truck stopped.
The other kids in the car were pleading with him to stop. And his answer then was, I'm not going back to jail. So if he had a death wish, that's okay with me.
What's okay with Lee
3 juveniles
isn't okay with Reverend Tom Watson of the Greater New Orleans Coalition of Ministers.
From what I'm understanding, these 3 young people going down Jefferson Highway, the Jefferson police decide that they're going to have target practice on these kids.
For a minister to face saying that we use those kids for target practice, I cannot tell you how angry that makes me.
Reverend Watson is calling for the Justice Department to investigate. That just gave Sheriff Lee more ammunition.
According to Reverend Watson, all they were doing, they can't afford a car, go steal a car. It's okay with me. Well, it may be okay with him, but damn it ain't okay with me. You come to Jefferson Parish to steal a car, you can get your in trouble.
Sheriff Harry Lee says he's not ready to release the number of deputies involved in the shooting or to verify how many shots were fired, though he says it was more than 109 rounds, and some of the deputies had to stop shooting to reload. He says it's his policy to keep those deputies patrolling the streets throughout this investigation. Telling us to put them on desk duty would mean he doubted their actions. Back to you.
Dead if you get hit with a Ram Dodge truck or with a 9mm bullet, you just as dead.
Sheriff Lee at a firing range dedication today questioned why these ministers become outraged when it's African Americans in front of a gun barrel, not behind it.
How about this young Vietnamese girl who was pursuing the American dream by working, and a black guy comes in and shoots her? 3 black kids shot a white boy going to his car. Did that upset the ministers? And I said, what were those kids doing? Were they target practicing or were they playing tiddlywink? And I don't care whether you're 16 or 60 or you're black or you're white. You try to kill one of my deputies, you're going to end up getting hurt.
Sheriff Lee, still upset by comments from Reverend Tom Watson of New Orleans, took his anger public during a dedication ceremony today.
And I don't give a damn what the ministers in New Orleans say. We're going to do whatever we have to do.
Watching the sheriff on TV from his church, Reverend Watson turned up the heat.
First of all, his anger is unfortunate because we have a young African-American male that's dead. He was murdered. I want to go on record to say that it's a modern-day lynching.
Sheriff Lee maintains the shooting that resulted from this high-speed chase involving 3 New Orleans teenagers in a stolen truck, ending in the death of the driver, was justified.
And all we tried to do was stop him. And if it took 100 and whatever bullets were fired to stop him, that's what it took. And if they had to reload, that's what they come here to train to do.
For you to justify your deputies doing what they did and go to the extreme to say, if it takes 300 rounds to stop 3 children in a car, something is sick about that.
The sheriff is still angry that Reverend Watson accused the sheriff's office of using the teenagers for target practice and appeared to suggest that they stole the truck because they wanted a piece of the American dream.
They were pursuing the American dream, which evidently, according to Reverend Watson, all they were doing, they can't afford a car, go steal a car. It's okay with me. Well, it may be okay with him, but goddamn it ain't okay with me.
All I was trying to say was, these young people are no different from the average young person who sees something on television, sees it on the internet, and they want it.
Before Reverend Watson gets involved in my business, he better stay in New Orleans and take care of the problem there.
Harry Lee is out of control. Bless him, he needs prayers.
Sheriff Lee says the teenagers who tried to run down his deputies were out of control. He maintains the shooting was justified. Meanwhile, the investigation continues.
And Mr. Lee told me and my family personally, if anyone threatens you or try to harm you, you got a right to defend yourself, hands down. And I'm gonna end it with this, because us squares, us 9-steppers, got a regular job we gotta work. But only us as a people say crazy stuff like the police could have shot us in the leg when we pulled the gun on them, or we try to kill the police with a car and wonder why the police unloaded in us and said it was excessive force. Looking at kids stealing cars and trying to justify those kids stealing cars or selling drugs or hurting people in the first place. So we missed the whole concept. Those kids shouldn't even be out there because they betraying the wrong image. So give them something different to look at. Make going to work cool. Make going to school cool.
Like where we live at, like I live in Jefferson Parish. Like our sheriff, Harry Lee, like he was like the ultimate devil. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm talking about, as a matter of fact, like one of my neighbors, one of my best friends, they killed him.
Wow.
Like, shot him in the back of the head. You know what I'm saying? He came on the news and they asked him why he didn't find a warning shot, because my friend, he had a gun, but he wasn't pointing it. He was kind of like out of his mind a little bit. And they shot him in the head. You know what he said?
What?
We trained to kill.
Wow. So